Buckets and buckets. Mike from PA keeps saying he isn't voting for Harris. Hopefully he's smart enough to at least get a Benjamin from Elon. Yeah, I mean, in Pennsylvania, that's, a bigger problem. There was a great thread that
Waleed Shahid had.
Yeah.
I can find it really quickly.
I had it in front of me. Here it is. Yeah, Waleed Shahid had. And it really, I mean, we've articulated something very similar, and I think others have. Organizing doesn't offer shortcuts. We have to ask ourselves why Representative Williams in Georgia or Senator Padilla in California won't support an arms embargo. Third-party dreams leapfrog past this question, assuming Democrats can be, quote, punished into policy change if Trump wins. But power doesn't work that way. After the March on Washington, Rustin emphasized politics, not protest, saying, he's talking about Bayard Rustin, Washington bends to power. We can't count on general strikes to face AIPAC's influence. We need real power. Morality won't be enough.
And I mean, I would just say there's a lot of, there's in the constituency in the Democratic Party, it's growing, the desire to change course on Israel policy. I mean, you have Nancy Pelosi criticizing Netanyahu publicly, even if that's all it is. You had, I think it was Sarah Jacobs, who's a representative in Democratic leadership, calling for a review of the policy, and more Democrats calling for an arms embargo. So from that situation standpoint, you want to elect the party whose constituency includes people that care about the lives of Palestinians. Trump gets elected, he doesn't give a crap. But even if you want to put that issue to the side for a second, and it's genocide, so it's impossible to do so. Another Trump term would ensure Supreme Court conservative control for around 40 years. So I think the reason you see women driving to the polls with such enthusiasm, and there being such a gender gap, is that it's actually like a kitchen table issue for us. It affects our rights, and that enough for me in terms of keeping right-wingers out of the Supreme Court is enough to justify a vote for Harris, especially if you're in a swing state. So
let me just read this one other tweet from this thread, and we can link to this thread. The horrific reality is, she writes, is that the anti-war movement hasn't built enough power to challenge AIPAC's influence in Washington. Leaders like Harris see more risk than reward, risking coalition fractures. Most Senate Democrats oppose an arms embargo, and Bowman and Bush paid the price. Speaking of Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, who lost in their primaries. But movements and Democratic voters have shifted the party away from segregationists, anti-choice forces, big oil, backers of apartheid South Africa. How? By building inside-outside infrastructure, forcing the key stakeholders in the party to fight back against hate, division, and oppression. I hear the pain of my Palestinian and Lebanese brothers and sisters who can't support a party funding bombs that devastate their families. I feel the grief of endless WhatsApp updates from home, the justifiable rage that follows. I don't blame any directly impacted person who can't bring themselves to vote for Harris. For others looking to third parties or Trump, what comes after that one singular choice on Election Day matters much, much more. What we do outside the ballot box is crucial. Walking away is what AIPAC wants and risks leaving the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government to those who do much, much worse.
That's exactly right. And then I'm glad he makes that point about the directly affected folks, because it's impossible to make the case absent Harris changing her rhetoric to people like, who are experiencing that. What would be different for this extremely relevant issue, because people in Palestine are being slaughtered at this moment. But if you're thinking about more voting strategically, I think that argument is exactly right.
And I think the idea that, I think he starts it off at one point by saying, voting is not a moral act. It is a small action in which to slowly build power.
Or you can view it as harm reduction. Either way.
I mean, we also saw what happens when, say, Donald Trump wins against a candidate who sucks. That's a Democrat, and it wasn't good for anything, and it wasn't good for Palestine.
Yeah.
All right, let's return to the spirit of the fun half on a Friday. We will obviously have more time to talk about those type of things later. We've got a couple of weeks going ahead. But, this is DSA Aaron in Atlanta. It's a genocide. Everyone should be affected. Yes. And I agree with that perspective. It's really just a question of what is the utility of not voting, either voting for Trump or voting for a third party. What is the utility? That's the only question in my mind. Demian, voting is a chess move, not a love letter. Yes. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.